She said, "I was just trying to help. Everyone deserves a second chance." After crossing the one line I warned her about, I replied, "Got it," packed a bag, left our apartment, and refused to answer her calls. Hours later, I learned what she'd planned. I'm sitting in my brother's living room right now, 3 in the morning, trying to make sense of what just happened to my life. I'm 28M, a warehouse supervisor, been with my fiancée Mara, 27F, for 3 years, engaged for 4 months. Until last week, I thought I'd found the person I was going to spend my life with. Now I don't know what is going on. The thing you need to understand about me is that I've been no contact with my mother for 10 years. Not because of some petty family disagreement, but because when I was 18, she destroyed our entire family to run off with a married man. I came home from my first semester at college to find my dad sitting at the kitchen table with divorce papers, and my 2 younger siblings crying because Mom had just announced she was leaving us for her soulmate. She didn't just leave, she gutted us, cleaned out their joint savings account, left Dad with 3 kids and a mortgage he couldn't afford alone, and told me it was my responsibility to step up and be the man of the house now. I was 18 years old. My brother Rylan was 15. Our sister was 12. I had to drop out of college and work 2 jobs just to keep us afloat while Dad fell apart. We eventually moved across the country to start over, and I built my life from absolute zero. Worked my way up to supervisor, got my own place, found some stability. The one boundary I've maintained through all of this is that my mother doesn't exist to me. She made her choice when she abandoned her children for some fantasy romance. I've been crystal clear about this with everyone in my life, especially Mara. This isn't negotiable. Mara comes from this picture-perfect family where everyone sits around the dinner table sharing feelings and working through their problems with group hugs. I get that my situation doesn't make sense to her, but she's always said she respects my boundaries even if she doesn't understand them. So here's what happened. My brother Rylan was visiting last weekend, and his phone died while he was here. He asked to borrow Mara's laptop to look something up, and when he opened her browser, there was an email tab already open. The subject line was, meeting next Thursday, excited to hear more about Jace. Rylan came straight to me. "Dude, you need to see this." I confronted Mara immediately. "What's this email about meeting someone to talk about me?" She went white. "I don't know what you're talking about. Rylan just saw it on your laptop. Don't lie to me. Maybe it's spam, or someone hacked my account." I could tell she was scrambling. "Mara, show me your phone, right now. Why are you being so paranoid? I haven't done anything wrong." "Then show me your phone." We went back and forth for 20 minutes. She kept deflecting, getting defensive, saying I was being controlling. Finally, she unlocked it, hands shaking. What I found made me physically sick. 8 weeks of constant messages between her and my mother. Pages and pages of my mother asking about my job, my apartment, my daily routine, my therapy sessions. Mara responding like she was filing intelligence reports, sharing photos of us together, describing our engagement party in detail, even telling her about conversations we'd had in private. The worst part was reading my mother's messages, playing the concerned parent who just wants to know her baby is okay, asking Mara to help her understand what went wrong between us. It was the same manipulative manipulation that had worked on everyone else when I was a kid, and Mara had fallen for it completely. "She's your mother," Mara said when I confronted her with the evidence, tears streaming down her face, but still defending herself. "She deserves to know you're okay. You're being cruel by cutting her out forever." Cruel? I was 18 years old when she abandoned us. I had to become a parent to my siblings because she chose some random man over her own children. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Jace. She's changed. She's sorry for what happened." "You've been meeting with her. How many times?" "It was just coffee. 3 times. I was trying to understand." "You were trying to understand. You want to understand." "She stole our college funds to run away with her boyfriend. She told me my siblings were my responsibility now. She hasn't called once in 10 years to check if we were alive, and now she wants back in because her affair partner probably dumped her." Mara just kept crying and saying she was trying to heal our family, that everyone deserves forgiveness, that I was holding on to anger that was poisoning me. I told her she'd crossed the one line I'd asked her never to cross, and I left. Been staying at Ryland's ever since, trying to figure out if this is something we can come back from. Ryland thinks I should dump her immediately. Says anyone who would go behind my back to ally with the person who destroyed my childhood isn't someone I can trust. But 3 years and an engagement isn't nothing. Part of me keeps thinking maybe she really was just trying to help, even if she went about it the wrong way. Am I overreacting to what she probably thought was helping? Or is this as big a betrayal as it feels like? Update 1. I've been crashing at Ryland's place since everything blew up. Mara's been texting non-stop. Sometimes it's, "I'm so sorry, I love you, please come home." Other times it's, "You're punishing me for trying to help," or, "You're letting your anger control you." The whiplash between guilt and blame was making my head spin. My buddy Colt, who bartends at this place downtown, told me I needed to have one final conversation with her in a neutral space. "Get everything out on the table," he said. "Then you'll know what you're really dealing with." So I texted Mara. "Meet me at Colt's bar after closing. We're going to go through all of this, and you're going to tell me everything. If you can't be completely honest, we're done." She responded in 30 seconds. "Yes, anything. I'll tell you everything." She showed up Tuesday night looking like she hadn't slept in days. Colt let us in after hours, gave us the back booth, and stayed behind the bar cleaning glasses. Close enough to be supportive, but far enough to give us space. "I need you to walk me through the entire timeline," I said. "No more lies, no minimizing. How long have you really been talking to her?" Mara started crying immediately. "It wasn't 8 weeks. It was 10. I'm sorry I lied about that. How did it start? I found her on Facebook. I was curious about your family, about what really happened. I thought maybe if I understood better." "You reached out to her? You initiated this?" "Yes." She could barely look at me. "I sent her a message saying I was your fiancé and asking if she'd like to talk." The betrayal hit me all over again. This wasn't some chance encounter. She'd hunted down my mother and opened a channel of communication behind my back. "She started calling me," Mara continued. "Sometimes she'd cry on the phone talking about how much she missed you. She told me your dad was controlling and abusive, that she had to leave for her safety. She said you'd exaggerated what happened because you were angry. And you believed her. She was so convincing. She knew details about your childhood that seemed real. She told me about your favorite foods, the way you used to sleep with this stuffed dinosaur until you were 8. That detail gutted me because it was true. Of course my mother remembered those things. She'd been my mom for 18 years before she destroyed everything." "Show me your phone again," I said. "I want to see all the messages, not just the recent ones." Mara's hands were shaking as she unlocked it. I scrolled back to the beginning, reading through weeks of conversations. The more I read, the sicker I felt. There were messages where my mother asked Mara to help me see reason and convince me that forgiveness is healing. But the one that made my blood turn to ice was from 3 weeks ago. My mother had written, "Maybe we could arrange a surprise reunion at the wedding. If Jace saw me there, in a happy moment, he might be willing to talk." Mara's response, "Let me work on him. I think I can get him to soften if I bring it up gently over time. He's been doing better in therapy, more open to processing the past." I read that message 3 times before I could speak. "You were planning to ambush me at my own wedding. It wasn't like that. That's exactly what it was. You were conspiring with her to manipulate me into seeing her whether I wanted to or not. I thought if you just saw her, if you realized she's changed." "She hasn't changed, Mara. She's the same manipulative person she's always been. Look at what she did to you. She fed you a completely fabricated version of our family history, and you ate it up." I kept scrolling through the messages, finding more lies my mother had told her, that my dad used to hit her, that my siblings blamed me for keeping the family apart, that I was poisoned by anger and needed an intervention. "None of this is true," I said. "My dad never laid a hand on her. My siblings are no contact by their own choice, and I'm not angry, Mara. I'm protected. There's a difference." But even as I explained the real history, I could see doubt in her eyes. She'd been so thoroughly convinced by my mother's version of events that my actual lived experience seemed questionable to her. "Maybe there are 2 sides to every story," she said finally. That's when I knew we were done. She was choosing my abuser's narrative over mine. I need more time, I told her. I can't process this right now. She grabbed my hands across the table. I'll cut off all contact with her right now. I'll block her everywhere. We can do couples counseling, whatever it takes. Then she said the thing that's been haunting me since. It just shouldn't have to be this way, Jace. Families are supposed to work through things. After she left, Colt came over and sat down. Well, that was messed up. She still doesn't get it, I said. She thinks my boundary is the problem, not my mother's behavior. I tried to warn you about her savior complex, man. Remember when she kept pushing you to reconcile with your college roommate after he betrayed you? Or when she insisted on mediating that thing with your coworker? She can't leave well enough alone. The reactions from everyone else have been telling too. Rylan wants me to end things immediately. Anyone who would conspire with her against you isn't someone you can trust, he said. Tessa from work, who's usually neutral about relationship stuff, said, that's not misguided, that's calculated. Even Nolan, Mara's own brother, called to apologize. Apparently she's always had this need to fix people in situations that aren't hers to fix. Mara sent me a long email yesterday promising she's blocked my mother everywhere and begging for couples counseling. Part of me still wants to try because we had something real for 3 years. But I keep coming back to those messages where she was planning to manipulate me at my own wedding. How do you rebuild trust when someone has shown they'll ally with your abuser because they think they know what's best for you better than you do? And what does it say about her that my mother was able to convince her that I was the problem in our family dynamic? Update 2. So after my last update, I was actually starting to feel like maybe we could work through this. Mara had been giving me space for 2 weeks, sending these thoughtful emails apologizing and promising she'd blocked my mother everywhere. She asked if we could try couples counseling, and honestly, I was considering it. 3 years together felt like too much history to throw away over what I kept trying to convince myself might have been a misguided attempt to help. Then yesterday happened, and I realized how naive I'd been. I got a text from an unknown number around noon. Hi Jace, it's your mom. Mara gave me your new number. Please just give me 5 minutes to explain. I love you. My hands went numb reading it. I immediately called Mara. Did you give my mother my number? What? No. I blocked her weeks ago after we talked. Why would you? Because she just texted me from a new number saying you gave it to her. Jace, I swear to God I didn't. Maybe she got it some other way. Maybe she... Mara, I'm looking at the text right now. She specifically says you gave it to her. I don't understand. I haven't talked to her since. I hung up and logged into our shared phone plan online. And there it was. A text from Mara's number to my mother's number that same morning at 10:47 a.m. Even though she'd supposedly blocked her 2 weeks ago, I didn't call her back. I just got in my car and drove to her apartment. I still had my key, and my plan was simple. Leave the key with a note ending things and walk away clean. No more drama, no more lies, just done. I let myself in and sat at her kitchen table to write the note. Mara, I can't do this anymore. The lying has to stop. I'm leaving my key and... That's when I heard voices outside the door. Mara's voice. And another voice I hadn't heard in 10 years but recognized instantly. The door opened and Mara walked in with my mother. All 3 of us just stood there frozen. My mother looked exactly like she did 10 years ago, just older. Same manipulative smile, same crocodile tears that started the second she saw me. Oh my baby, she said, reaching toward me with her arms out. You look so handsome. You look just like your father. I stepped back. Don't. I've missed you so much. Every single day I think about my boy and, Mara. I turned to my fiancée, who looked like she'd seen a ghost. What is going on? I can explain. I was trying to convince her to give you space. I was trying to help you. By having lunch with her? She called me crying this morning. She said she was leaving town and just wanted to say goodbye. I thought if I met with her one last time, I could make her understand that she needed to respect your boundaries. My mother, apparently unable to contain herself, jumped in. Mara invited me to the wedding. We were just talking about what I should wear. I was thinking maybe something blue? You always loved when I wore blue. The world stopped. I looked at Mara, who had gone completely white. You invited her to our wedding? Mara's mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find words that didn't exist. Answer me. Did you invite my mother to our wedding? Yes, she whispered, but not the way it sounds. I was going to seat her in the back, and you could decide in the moment whether to acknowledge her or not. I thought if you saw her there, in a happy moment, you might. Get out. I looked at my mother. Get out of here right now. Jace, please. I just want to talk. I know I made mistakes, but get out. She left, still crying, still talking about how much she loved me. Mara and I just stood there in her kitchen, the air thick with 3 years of lies I was only now beginning to understand. You were going to ambush me at my own wedding, I said. It wasn't an ambush. I thought. You thought what? That if you trapped me in front of all our friends and family, I'd be forced to hug the woman who abandoned me? That I'd be too polite to cause a scene? She's different now, Jace. She's been going to therapy. She knows she made mistakes. Stop. I grabbed my key and headed for the door. We're done. Wait, please, we can work through this. But I was already gone. The drive back to Rylands was a blur. When I told him what happened, he had to physically restrain himself from going over there to confront Mara himself. She's been planning this for months, he said. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. She's been working with her to manipulate you into a reconciliation you never wanted. Tessa texted me when she heard what happened. I take back what I said about her meaning well. She's not misguided. She's delusional. Even Nolan, Mara's own brother, sent me a message. I'm really sorry. She's not going to stop. You should protect yourself. Mara's been calling and texting non-stop since yesterday. The messages range from, I can explain everything if you'll just listen, to you're being cruel and stubborn, to I know what's best for your healing better than you do. That last one really got to me. The audacity of thinking she knows what's best for my healing when she's the one reopening wounds I spent a decade learning how to live with. I went back to my apartment today and asked her to move her stuff out. She did it while I was at work. Found my engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a note that said, "This doesn't have to be over." But it does. I can't marry someone who thinks my trauma is a puzzle for her to solve. I can't build a life with someone who conspires with my abuser because she believes she knows what's best for me better than I do. Still trying to decide whether to cancel the wedding venue or have one more conversation. Part of me feels like I owe it to 3 years together to hear her out one final time. But another part of me knows that someone who would plan to ambush me with my abuser at my own wedding might be beyond any kind of redemption. Final update. I needed clarity before I could move forward with anything. After sitting with everything for 2 weeks, I realized I couldn't make a decision about our future without asking Mara one direct question. So I reached out and told her we could meet one final time, but only if she agreed to complete honesty, and only with Colt present as a witness. She agreed immediately. We met at Colt's bar last Tuesday after closing. I'd prepared for tears, manipulation, promises to change. All the things I'd been hearing for weeks. But instead of getting sucked into another cycle of explanations and apologies, I cut straight to the heart of it. I have one question, I told her as we sat in that same back booth where this all started unraveling weeks ago. If we got married, would you keep trying to force me to reconcile with my mother? Mara went quiet. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out what I wanted to hear versus what she actually believed. The silence stretched for what felt like forever. Finally, she said, I can't promise I'd stop trying, because I genuinely believe it's what you need to heal, but I'd be more careful about how I approach it. That was it. Game over. She was telling me she'd never respect my boundaries, just get better at violating them secretly. Okay, I said calmly. Then this engagement is over. The tears started immediately. Jace, please, I love you. I know I made mistakes, but I can learn. We can work through this. No, we can't. Because you just told me you'd keep trying to push me toward someone who destroyed my childhood. You can't help yourself. I would be more careful. Being more careful means lying to me more effectively. That's not a solution, Mara. She was crying harder now, reaching across the table for my hands. I just want you to be happy. I want you to have a family. I have a family. I have Rylan and our sister. I have people who respect my choices instead of trying to fix them. Then she said the thing that made everything crystal clear. You're making the same mistake your dad made, shutting people out instead of forgiving. That's why your mom left him." I just stared at her. "What did you just say?" "Your dad pushed her away. If he'd been willing to work through their problems instead of being so stubborn." "My dad pushed her away? Mara, she was having an affair for months while lying to him every single day. She cleaned out their savings account and abandoned 3 kids to chase her fantasy romance. My dad didn't push her anywhere. She destroyed our family and left us to deal with the wreckage." But I could see it in her eyes. She'd completely bought my mother's version of events. In her mind, my father was the villain, and my mother was the misunderstood victim who deserved another chance. That's when I realized she wasn't just betraying my boundaries. She was choosing my abuser's narrative over my lived experience. She'd decided that my mother, a woman who abandoned her children, was more credible than me about my own childhood. I stood up, took off my engagement ring, and placed it on the table between us. "We're done." "Jace, wait, please." I walked toward the exit. She tried to follow me to the parking lot, but Colt stepped in front of her. "Leave him alone," I heard him tell her as I got in my car. The last 2 weeks have been a whirlwind of logistics. Rylan and Colt helped me cancel the wedding venue and send out notices to guests. I kept the message simple. Due to irreconcilable differences, Mara and I have ended our engagement. The wedding is canceled. Thank you for your understanding. Mara kept texting constantly for the first week. The messages alternated between desperate apologies and accusations that I was controlled by anger and throwing away our future over pride. She showed up at my workplace last Friday trying to talk sense into me. I finally blocked her number after that. But here's the thing that's been eating at me. Last Thursday, Nolan called me, Mara's own brother. "I owe you an apology," he said. I tried to warn Mara that she was crossing lines, but she wouldn't listen. She's always had this savior complex where she needs to fix everyone's problems. "I appreciate you calling. My parents are furious with her, by the way. They really liked you. Mom said Mara lost such a good guy because she couldn't mind her own business." Then he told me something that made my skin crawl. She's done this before. Her last boyfriend had issues with his alcoholic brother, and she kept inviting the brother to family events trying to facilitate reconciliation. The guy finally had to choose between his sobriety support system and Mara. He chose sobriety. So this wasn't even new behavior. She has a pattern of inserting herself into other people's family trauma and trying to orchestrate healing that nobody asked for. Yesterday, Tessa brought me lunch at work. "You did the right thing," she said. "Someone who doesn't respect your boundaries doesn't respect you. Period." She's right. I keep coming back to that final conversation and what Mara revealed about how she really sees my situation. She'd convinced herself that I was the problem in my family dynamic, that my mother was this poor woman who deserved forgiveness, and I was just too damaged to see it clearly. The peace I've built by keeping my mother out of my life isn't cruelty, it's survival. And someone who can't understand that difference isn't someone safe to build a life with.